Mic check 1 2 1 2. It's the Y2K collector here, and I am back in the storage room just putting some games away and just sorting some games that I have in the collection. And as I'm going through and sorting through the collection, I do have I usually typically have YouTube in the background playing. And one of the biggest and most recent trending topics is this new PlayStation 5 Pro that's been released. And there's been a lot of backlash, and there's been a lot of, for lack of better terms, there's a lot of angst surrounding the announcement of the PlayStation 5 Pro. And a lot of the conversation is around what people are getting versus what they're paying for, right? And this is something that I spoke about on a video not that long ago when I said that gaming companies are going to have to do something really soon to provide a differentiated experience, because people are getting tired of the same conversation when it comes to customers being asked to pay exponentially more and not get that much in return. If all you're offering is a marginally higher level of visual fidelity, no one really cares about that. The graphical leaps that we're seeing today do not warrant the price increases. But beyond all of that, right? Because there are hundreds of YouTube channels where you can go and listen to someone rant about that. My question with regards to the whole PlayStation announcement is a bit different. And my question is, are video games still being made for children? Like, are video games still being made with the younger generation, the youth? And by youth, I mean 17 and under, right? Are games still being made with young people in mind? And the reason why I ask that is because when you look at the price points for a lot of these consoles that are coming out, $300, $400, $500, $600, now $700, right? I don't know how many paychecks it would have taken me, because I've always had a job ever since I was 14. And even when I worked at like McDonald's, Burger King, fast food, you name it, even if I worked a 40-hour week, I would have had to have worked for nearly a month just to save up to be able to purchase a $700 console. And so when I just look at these price points, I have to ask myself, there's no way that they could be thinking about children when they're creating these systems and they're creating these price points, because most kids won't be able to ever afford any of this stuff, right? And then you might say, well, Y2K, kids were never buying video games. It was always their parents buying them the video games. I mean, even if you said that, I don't know many adults that can cough up $700 for a video game. Because when you factor in all the add-ons and taxes and everything, now you're talking almost $800. And guess what? In some states, that's someone's rent. Right? You're asking people to cough up a month's worth of rent for a console that isn't providing enough of a differentiated experience. And I think the fun factor for children is being lost in all of this, because I don't think children really care that much about frame rates. I don't think they care that much about, if you can see every single blade of grass as it blows in the wind. I don't think kids care about that. I think kids care about how fun the game is. I think kids care about the plot of the game. If the game includes some of their favorite characters outside of video games, or outside of the game itself, right? There are a lot of things that I don't think kids care about that video game companies are focusing on, and they're losing that younger generation. And this is where Nintendo comes in, because Nintendo, I feel like, has always kept the gaming experience at the forefront of everything they do, and then they put technology last. Whereas Sony, PlayStation, with the exception of the PlayStation 2 era, one of the greatest eras in PlayStation, in my opinion, PlayStation 2 is the best PlayStation. Let me know in the comments which PlayStation you think is the best. If you think it was PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 1. For me, if I had to rank them, it would be PlayStation 2, then PlayStation 3, then PlayStation 1. You let me know. But it feels like pretty much like after PlayStation 2, Sony has always put the technology and the power of the hardware before the actual gaming experience. Whereas Nintendo, from N64 to GameCube to the Wii and the Wii U, right? And then even now to the Switch, they've always put the gameplay experience first. And most kids care about if they're having fun playing the game, not the specs of the hardware, the visual fidelity, and all these other things. And it just makes me ask, like, are these consoles being made for kids? Are they being made with a child in mind? And by, again, I'm defining a child as someone 17 and under. Because to me, a child is someone who doesn't have any real life responsibilities yet. You're not paying any real bills. You're still living at home with mom and dad, right? Like, and I guess by that definition, you got a lot of 30 and 40-year-olds that would be considered children, but you guys get my point. Hopefully you get what I'm trying to say is that, you know, traditionally, you know, if you look at most videos from the 90s of kids opening up their Christmas gifts and even the 80s, those Nintendos were opened up by kids, 13, 12, maybe 14, maybe 15, right? But now, I don't know which kids are going to be opening $700 consoles for Christmas. It's really just mind-blowing to me. And, you know, launching something like this when we're already in somewhat of a depressed economic state is just really making me scratch my head as I try to figure out what Sony is thinking. You know, it's just crazy. And, you know, the Switch 2 is going to be coming out real soon, right? And there's a lot of talk about that. There's a lot of anticipation around that. And I'm almost willing to bet money that the Switch 2 will more than likely be half the price of this new PlayStation Pro. And think about it. As a parent, what are you going to do? I mean, I know what I'm going to do because I'm a parent. And if my kid comes to me and says, hey, Dad, if I know my kid wants a new gaming console and I have to choose between a $700 Sony PlayStation console that really isn't offering any new games for my kids to play, they're going to be playing their same old games just on a newer console, and I know my kids aren't going to have a differentiated experience, and I could choose between that or a Switch 2 that will probably come with newer games, a better experience, I'm 9 times out of 10, I'm going to go with that Switch 2. And I think these are the moves that companies like Sony make where they shoot themselves in the foot, especially as we go into the fourth quarter and we start to, you know, the holidays start coming around, because these are going to be the times when people are start thinking about their Christmas wish list, the different games that they've got on their Christmas wish list, different things they want to add. And I just feel like Sony, by making this move, they just kind of position themselves to come in last, because nothing about what they're offering gamers sounds appealing, especially when it comes to children, and when it comes to that younger demographic and that younger audience. Because I can tell you right now, if I was 16, 17, and I heard that the newest console was going to be $700, I would just be saying, well, I guess I'm not getting that for Christmas, because I would already know. There's no way in hell my parents would be paying anything close to that for a video game. I already know. I wouldn't even be dumb enough to ask my parents to buy me something like that, because I already know what the answer is going to be. Either they're going to flat out say no, or they're going to say, you better go find something else you better ask Santa for something else. Because Santa definitely does not have $800 in his Christmas budget. And I just don't know. Again, I don't know. I don't know what the thought process is when it comes to the decisions that are made. But, you know, it kind of reminds me of consoles like the Neo Geo. Great idea, great design, probably great hardware, but just, you know, released at a price point that was just unimaginable for the common man and woman. So I'm not even gonna ask you to let me know your comments down below, because I think the gaming community has universally spoken on how they feel. But I mean, feel free to chime in on the point about, you know, whether or not gaming is still for kids, because with each passing year and with each, you know, wildly increased price point, I'm just starting to feel like pretty soon gaming is going to be way more of an adult hobby than it will be a kid's hobby, if it's not already there at this point. But that does it for me. It's the Y2K Collector. I did find a cord that I think I might be able to use to try and get my PAL PlayStation 1 to work. So I'm going to test that out. I had to go digging through to see if I had some extra cords, and I think I might have found a cord that might work. So I'll test it out, and I will be back to let you all know. But until then, hopefully you all enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and I'll catch you in the next video. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.